Hello, and thank you for spending some time with us today as we dive into kind of two of my favorite topics, marketing automation and social marketing. I'm Chad Collette. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Ledu Partners, where we help businesses transform their approach to their sales, their marketing, their customer service by really aligning those teams to focus on improving the customer's experience through CRM like Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Salesforce, as well as marketing automation like ClickDimensions, who I'm happy to have joining us today. Now, social marketing continues to explode every single year with so many people at home these days. The use of social media marketing has never been so important to a company's success. Now, as a marketer, I've researched, demoed, and really just used a ton of different platforms for scheduling and managing social content, monitoring, engaging in those social conversations, discovering and sharing content, and really trying to empower our internal advocates with the ability to share that content easily and really extend our reach. And of course, having that ability to measure and to track and really provide a return on investment. Now, in many of these tools, there's always seems to be some kind of drawbacks or complicated processes that really make them kind of work. That's why I'm super excited to welcome Matt from ClickDimensions today to show Microsoft Dynamics 365 users how Click's social marketing separates itself from all the others. Now, I know when I first saw this demo, I was super impressed and certainly looking forward to seeing it again and hearing how it can be just a huge asset to marketers. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Yep, thanks, Chad. I appreciate the introduction. I am equally as excited to show this tool off. So, just as a little bit of background, ClickDimensions is a marketing automation tool that's built specifically for Dynamics 365 users. Now, about 3 years ago, we realized we did put a lot of focus on the email marketing side of things and automating campaigns inside of CRM. But one of the areas where we thought we could expand our focus a little bit was on the social side. So we actually partnered with a company called Octopost, and now they handle our advanced social media functionality. Now, Octopost markets itself as the only B2B social tool that's in the market today. That said, it does have a ton of B2C functionality, but if you are one of those B2B marketers that's looking for metrics on these social posts that are related to what you're doing as a B2B marketer, I think this tool is really going to make a huge difference in what you're doing. So I'm excited to show it off. And with that, we're going to go through a couple slides today, but we're going to spend most of the time in the demo environment. So give me 1 second here. Here we go. So from the data that we've seen, we've concluded that about 81% of marketers have integrated social media into their traditional marketing activities, and 93% of B2B marketers are using it to market their content. Now, what does this mean? It means that we need to be doing social media marketing in order to compete. It's what the biggest brands are doing, and it's what a lot of marketers who are successful are doing. And if you think about it, you see people walking around all the time staring into their phones. I know I'm guilty of doing this as well, but they're not checking their email all the time. What they're doing is they're looking at social media. There is a ton of focus that is placed on these different social platforms organically. So I think it's really our job as marketers to try to capture some of that organic attention and put that attention towards our brand. So when using the Octopus tool, there are going to be a few things that we try to help you achieve and some challenges that we try to help you overcome. The first of which is going to be integrating disparate systems, meaning if we are using an outside tool to post to social, it's going to be really hard to get a 360 view on how all of our marketing content is performing. ClickDimensions is integrated with Dynamics, and the great thing about this Octopus tool is we are tracking link clicks all the way back to a contact or lead record inside of your CRM. So even though we won't be posting through ClickDimensions or Dynamics in this tool, we still are tracking some of that information all the way back to where we're looking at the rest of our marketing activities. So understanding what people are clicking on from social is going to bring us into that next challenge, which is marketers have trouble attributing revenue to marketing. One of the things this is going to help with is it's going to show us what content actually drove this person to reach out to us. So one of the things we do with those link clicks is we track them while people are still anonymous. Anonymous meaning we have not captured their information inside a CRM yet. They haven't filled out one of our forms. We haven't put their information in manually. So what we do is when someone clicks on that social post, we'll store that click as anonymous. And then once we actually capture that information on a form or we enter it manually into CRM, we can show you that social click associated to that contact. So what this is going to do is help us see which content it was that actually pushed this person to reach out to us. Now, understanding that information is going to help us improve our decision making, help us increase our marketing ROI, and ultimately help us improve our marketing efficiency. So this is a slide that's more focused towards B2B, but I think there is some B2C stuff that we can use in here as well. Again, I mentioned earlier, Octopost is the only B2B social marketing tool that's in the market currently. Now, what that means is there are a lot of other tools out there that are going to focus on things like shares, likes, retweets, followers, comments, and these are all decent metrics for brand measurement, but I also consider them to be vanity metrics because while they make us feel good, we all like getting likes and comments. What we really need to know is where our revenue is coming from. So how much are we contributing to the ROI? How many leads are we actually putting in our pipeline? I think these are more valuable metrics to a marketer and to a business, and that's really where Octopost puts its focus. Now, these are some of the tools we're going to give you to help out with the stuff that we mentioned before. We are going to have an intelligent scheduling functionality, so you can schedule posts into the future. We do have a marketing calendar inside of the tool, so you're going to be able to see all of your scheduled social posts. We do have a content curation tool that's going to allow us to source content from other areas of the internet. This way you don't actually have to create every single post you're sending out. We are integrated with ClickDimensions and Dynamics, so we're bringing that link click information back inside of CRM. We have a very robust set of analytics that's going to help us create better social campaigns and evaluate the ones that we're currently running. And we also have a social advocacy functionality that's going to allow you to leverage your employees' networks to expand the reach of these posts even further. So with that, I'm going to jump directly into the tool. So when we first open up the Octopost platform, we're going to see this dashboard. It is going to show us the total number of posts we've sent over the past 30 days, total number of link clicks, conversions, and our ROI from those conversions. Now, what we're going to be considering a conversion inside of the Octopost tool is when someone clicks on that link in our social posts and ends up on the website that we were directing them to. So that's what we consider a conversion. And from those conversions, we're going to be able to calculate an ROI based on the forms that are being filled out on our website. So we're going to associate a value to each one of those forms. And as they're being filled out while people are going to your website from these social posts, we're going to be able to show you what the rough estimate of those forms values were that were generated directly from social. Now I'll ask you as we're going through the demo to ignore the fact that we have 0 conversions and no ROI in here. This is our demo environment, so we're not tracking every single person that's coming through, but we are still going to have a lot of really good information in here for you guys. So this is going to be a common theme throughout Octopost. If you do see a graph like this, you're going to be able to click it and it'll populate in the open graph space below. So if we do want to get more granular, we can. Now keep in mind, this is just the dashboard. Under the analytics section, we're going to have a lot more information. As we scroll down, you're going to be able to see the current social campaigns that we're running. So you'll be able to see, how many social posts have we sent out, how many are left to go out, how many link clicks are we driving, and how many conversions are coming from this campaign. Now, this is going to be important because all of our social posts that we're creating inside of this tool are going to be associated to a social campaign. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first of which is when we get into the analytics section in the back end, we're going to be able to slice that data using filters like campaigns. Now, the second is you also have the ability to pull in Dynamics campaigns from your CRM system. So if we do want to be able to track these link clicks back to a specific campaign in Dynamics, we can do that by using these campaigns inside of social. So really all of our posting functionality is going to come from this publishing tab. If we click on it, you are going to be prompted to create a new campaign. So if I did want to create a new social campaign, I could call it LedgeView Social. And then we're going to have the option to add campaign tags. So what a campaign tag does is it basically tells us what type of post we're creating. The types of posts we generally use are like blog post, newsletter, partner event, just something to tell us what type of content we're sending out in this social campaign, so we have an idea of what we're looking at when we actually do break this down in the analytics. So let's say we were creating a social campaign full of blog posts. You now have the option to add a team to this. So that's another filter we're going to have once we get into the analytics. It's not something that everybody needs, but if you are on a very large marketing team and you have different people working in different regions who are using different social platforms, this is a good way to keep all of that information separate. Now, once we click create campaign, what it's going to do is prompt me to schedule my first post. So when I click schedule first post, this is going to be my post console. I do have the ability to post to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. We can post to multiple profiles as long as they're on the same network. So what I'm doing now is I'm selecting my social marketer Liz's profile as well as the ClickDimensions company page. So now if I shared this content, it would go out on both. Now, I know one of the things that people ask for a lot is the ability to post across multiple platforms, or multiple networks. So if we did want to post something that we posted on LinkedIn to Facebook or Twitter, we don't want to have to copy and paste that message that we sent back into the post console. So that's not something you're going to have to worry about. If we have sent a social post in the past, it's going to be saved as a message asset. So if I go into this campaign here, click save, and then go to select message, I can select any message that has already been saved into that social campaign. Now, once I select it, it's going to auto-populate. And now we don't want to post this on LinkedIn again. We want it on Facebook. All we have to do is change where we're clicking. And now I can post the same content on Facebook. So we are going to have some different options on these different networks when we're looking at these different fields down below. So with Facebook, you actually have the ability to choose who will see this post based on geographic location. So if I only wanted people in Atlanta to be able to see this post, I simply type Atlanta, save that. Now only people in Atlanta can see that information. Now on LinkedIn, you're going to have the option to share with all followers, or you can filter by company size, industry, function, seniority, geography, or language. So you can get really granular when trying to target people on LinkedIn. If we go over to Twitter, you're going to have the ability to add a location, and that's going to be the same for Instagram. Now the rest of the fields we see here are going to be the same for all of these different networks. You are going to be able to schedule this content into the future by selecting a date and time. You can select more than one date and time if we do want to send this more than once. Another option we're going to have is the ability to copy this to an advocacy board. So I'll talk about this a little bit more once we get to advocacy, but this is going to be one central location for you as a marketer to share this content with your team so they can post this on their personal profiles. And since those personal posts are going to be sent through Octopost as well, you're going to have tracking for those even though they're not one of your company pages. So that's going to be super useful. We can add a video or image to all of these by dragging and dropping. So you'd be able to select which file you want to use. You can run a preview on these before we actually send them out as well. So you can see what this looks like on a desktop or mobile device before we send it. And then you're also going to have the ability to add emojis. So for all of you emoji lovers out there, you can select emojis from inside of the tool. Now that's how we would make a social post if we created a new campaign. But let's say we wanted to create a social post without going through, the actual campaign process. What we would do is we'd stay in publishing and we'd come up here to calendar. And then on the calendar, you have the option to create this new post. So it's the exact same post console. You have all the same functionality. You just didn't have to create a new campaign. You would simply have to associate it to one of the ones that we've already created. And it is going to automatically associate to your most recent campaign. So, if you don't select one, it's going to pick one for you. But back behind the post console, we do have this social calendar here. So we are showing you all of the scheduled posts. I mentioned earlier those campaign tags would be fairly important. One of the reasons is they do show up as different colors on the calendar. So I think this is super helpful for marketers in that, it helps them stay organized. They don't have to click on every post to see what it is. They can see at a glance, what type of content they have going out every day. Now, one of the things you'll notice is these colors are a little bit faded. What that means is that this post has actually gone live already. So since it's gone live, I can click on it and I can view a quick report on how it actually performed. We'll be able to see how many impressions it drove on LinkedIn, the total number of link clicks, which is what we're tracking back into Dynamics, total likes, shares, and comments, as well as our engagement rate. So this is just a quick view on an individual post, but we are going to have analytics that are even more detailed once we get to the last section. So we can look at a glance to see how this post performed, and we'll get a good idea of how much information we're driving back to Dynamics. Now, this is all filterable. So that's another common theme in the Octopus tool is you're going to have the ability to filter by campaigns, campaign tags, networks, profiles, statuses, users, or teams. If we move down one tab here, if we did need to set up an approval process for you and your team, it's absolutely possible and it's super easy to do inside of the tool. If you guys have someone who is helping you create content, but you want to have final say over what actually goes live, we can set that up inside of the Octopus tool. But one of my favorite features in here is going to come from this content tab. And this is what we call the content curation functionality. So what this does is this sources articles that have been written over the past 7 days related to specific keywords. So there is a rule at ClickDimensions that we try to follow when it comes to social marketing, and that's that you want to post about 60% of your content directly related to what your business does, and the other 40% of content should be information related to the industry. So the reason we do this is we would rather be thought of as a thought leader in the industry and as a news source than just someone that's promoting their own content on a regular basis. And one of the things I tell everyone who I work with on these, is that the people who follow you, they know what you guys do. Like I said earlier, they're constantly staring at their phones. For the most part, they probably saw your last 10 posts, so they have a great idea of what your business does. But how do we attract new followers? Well, again, that goes back to us being looked at more as an industry related news source. So if we can put these different posts that we're sourcing on our profiles, then they're going to have more to look at than just, what your company's doing. And it's going to mean more when they do see a post about your company because you're a more trusted social media site. Now, if I were to go up to your marketing team and say, hey, I need you to make 40% of content that's not actually related to your business, they would look at me like I was crazy. They don't want to do that, but I'm not asking them to do that. What I'm asking them to do is come back into this tool and add a topic about the stuff that you guys want to talk about. So me and Chad, we both do a lot with Dynamics CRM. So if we wanted to talk about Dynamics 365, I could type that in, click add. Now this is going to pull up all of these different articles with the keyword Dynamics 365. Now, if that's not detailed enough for us, what we can do is, while we're clicked on this, let's go to edit. And now we can add multiple keywords. So if I did want to type in Microsoft, and then let's say I didn't want this to talk about our competition, Salesforce. Go ahead and save that. And this is going to give me an updated list, but you can add as many of those keywords in there as you want. You can add keywords that you don't want it to include. And then once we find something that we really like, we're going to be able to click share. We can schedule this if we wanted to. We could copy it to our advocates, or we could just go ahead and post it now. You could also edit this information if you'd like to. So makes it super easy to source content. I highly recommend using this for everyone who's on the Octopus tool. But it is going to make it easy for us to save these views as well, because they're going to be stored over here in this drop down. If we did have one that we wanted to delete, it's as simple as clicking delete. But that's how we would use the content curation tool. The next tab we're going to jump down into is going to be our streams functionality. And what this does is it lets us look into all of our profiles from one central location. I know one of the biggest issues, at least for marketing teams that I've talked to before, is the constant logging in and out of different pages to post content. Well, from inside of the tool, we can post to all of them from right here. And we also have the ability to look into these profiles. So right now I've got my home timeline on Twitter pulled up. I'm looking at my LinkedIn page. I've got my Facebook page, and I'm looking at my home feed on Instagram. And what's great about this is I actually have the ability to interact with this content as well. So if I did want to like this post, I can just click it, and now I have sent a like. So it does make it a lot easier. One of the other things I've seen people doing with this is following their competition, which you absolutely can, because with networks like Twitter, we can pull up other profiles. Now, We would do that by selecting a specific user, and then we'd enter that person's name. But one thing that I've seen recently, at least from a consumer perspective on social media, is some of these marketers who are working in these social media departments are straight geniuses, and I'll put it that way because I see this guy who works for Slim Jim, and I only know they work for Slim Jim because it's the Slim Jim social media marketing page. And what he does is he follows all the big meme pages on Twitter and on Instagram. And what he does is he waits for them to post. This is a post that'll generally get, anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 likes, and he'll leave a funny comment. And as you know, with Twitter and Instagram, when a comment gets a lot of likes, it is pushed up to the top and more people will see it. So if you do have a marketer who you think is quite witty or clever, I would say let the leash out a little bit and let them go out there and start commenting on meme pages and let them be funny, because I see people like Slim Jim or this guy Farouk who are literally famous for just commenting on other people's social profiles. So there's definitely ways that we could get creative with this, but if we use it to its full potential, you're going to be able to do a lot of stuff like that. So if we did want to follow all of those different Twitter pages, you have the ability to do so, and then you can comment on them from right inside of streams every time they post something new. So something to keep in mind um, as we move forward. We do have what's called our customer care inbox as well. And what this is going to do, it's going to pull our direct messages and comments from all of these networks, and it's going to let us respond to them in one central location. So just as a disclaimer, it does not pull in LinkedIn direct messages. I know that's a really big one for us, but LinkedIn's very restrictive on their API, but we are going to have the direct messages and comments from Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and then we do have the comments from LinkedIn as well. Now, why is it important to be able to respond to all of the stuff that we're seeing on social media? Well, from the people I've talked to, most of what they see isn't necessarily positive feedback. Some of it is, but on these public forums, when you're dealing with the everyday consumer, they'll go to social media every once in a while to congratulate you, but more often than not, they go to complain about something. And since this is a public forum and we want to maintain our brand's reputation, we need to be able to respond to these comments quickly and accurately. So what we give you the ability to do is respond from right inside of the tool. And then we also give you the ability to assign these comments to other users. So, if we're a marketer and we get asked some sort of technical question that's really not inside of our skill set, what we can do is we could assign this to someone who's better equipped to actually answer that question. They'll get a notification via email, as well as a notification inside of this tool that they have a new message that they need to respond to. And then when they jump in, they're going to be able to see what's assigned to them under the Assigned to Me tab. Then I can also see the messages that have been assigned to anyone under the Assigned to Anyone tab. So pretty useful functionality. Again, if it's a tweet, you can like it, you could retweet it, you could comment on it, but you are going to have options when it comes to responding inside of the inbox. Now, the next tab we're going to talk about, this is going to be advocacy, and this is actually one of my favorite functionalities. So what is an advocate? Well, an advocate is anybody you believe adds value sharing your social content that is willing to share that content. So for us, we have a partner board. What this is it's an area for partners to go in and grab ClickDimensions content. Now, our partners generally work with Dynamics 365 users. That's our target consumer base. Now they also sell ClickDimensions. So them being able to share our content is a win-win for both of us. So that's a situation where the partner sharing isn't necessarily an employee, but it's someone who could still be an advocate. Most of the time, when we deal with advocates, they are going to be your employees, but my point is they do not have to be. So an advocate is not going to have access to all of these features and functionalities that you will as a marketer. They're only going to have access to the content that you put in front of them. So if we go back to publishing and we're creating a new post, we have this new post that we want to share with all of our advocates. What we're going to do is we click copy to board. And now that post is going to be available on what is known as the Advocacy Board, which looks like this. So from an advocate's perspective, they're going to be able to see all of these different posts that you've created for them. They're going to be able to write you suggestions. They can see all their recent shares. But really, what this is meant to do is meant to make it super easy for me to share. So I go pick that post. I want to share it. I click share now. That'll depopulate. So this is all stuff that I have not shared. But why is this important? Well, it goes back to what I was saying about the content curation. The people who follow you, they know what you guys do, right? But we need new people. We need new leads. We need more recent opportunities. So how do we get those? One of the ways we can do that is we can leverage these networks where people don't see ClickDimensions content on a regular basis. So for me, I have about 1,000 followers on LinkedIn. I think probably about 200 of them already follow ClickDimensions. Those are my partners. Those are my employees. Those are people who have used ClickDimensions in the past. But the other 800 people, they're never going to see this content unless I put it in front of them. So as you can imagine, if we have 10, 20, 30 advocates all sharing this content, the reach of these social posts is going to increase by quite a bit. And in certain situations, we've seen it go up as much as 10 times over. So that's great. But what's even better is because it's sent through the Octopus tool, we actually have tracking on all of those posts as well. So even though that was my personal profile, we're still going to be getting analytic data back inside of Octopus. Now, one of the other things I think is really cool about advocacy is we do gamify this a little bit. So we can see how many times all of our employees are sharing. We can see how many clicks our employees are driving. And that's going to be useful information because we want to select the best advocates when we're putting people on this board. Larger social networks or more willingness to share would all be different attributes that I would consider. Now, once we've looked at this, and adding another profile is super easy too. It's as simple as clicking the add button up here, and I have a control panel in my way. Here it is. So if we go to the add button up here, all we would have to do is enter our credentials to log into our Facebook profile. And then from there, we'd be populating Facebook posts up here with all of this stuff that we're seeing for LinkedIn. So super easy to add multiple profiles. You can access this via an app. You could log on a web browser, but really it's designed to make it easy to share. Once you have the app downloaded and your profile is connected, it takes 2 seconds. You click share now, and that post has gone live. We're helping out our marketing team and we're increasing the brand's reach. So that's the advocate perspective. If we jump back inside of the main tool itself, the next tab we need to talk about is going to be the analytics. So let's start with the advocacy analytics just because we're already talking about this. But inside of the analytics tabs, you're going to have the ability to filter by a specific date range, as well as filter by things like, campaigns, campaign tags, networks, or users. This one's a little bit more limited than some of the other ones we'll see just because it is based on advocates, but we could dive into the individual advocate numbers here if we wanted to. Now, when we're looking at it holistically, what we're seeing here is our users over this time period, which is a year-long time period, logged into the advocacy board 2.2 thousand times and shared 2.7 thousand pieces of content. Now, with those 2.7 thousand shares, they had 822,000 impressions. So, those are 822,000 views that we would have otherwise not seen without the help of our advocacy board. Now, if we really wanted to dive in where these shares were coming from or where all of these numbers were coming from, we can click on this and it'll populate the graph below. We can see we obviously had a huge spike right here where we had, 17,000 plus views in one day of one of these advocacy posts. So, we actually ran an internal competition to see who could share the most advocacy posts. And as a result of that, we saw this giant spike in the number of people who were viewing all of our social content. But because it's gamified inside of the advocacy board itself, it does make it easy to run those sort of sweepstakes or contests with your employees because we are actually tracking who's driving the most clicks, who is sharing the most. So it's going to be super useful. You can see your top advocates down here as well as the most popular message for them to share. But again, if you do have good advocates, those numbers will speak for themselves. So for example, we just saw Mike Marriage was our top advocate. If we click on Mike Marriage, go to update, we'll be able to see the effect that he's had on our social program on his own. And over this time period, he shared he shared 281 times and generated, a little over 75,000 views of our content. So that's pretty impressive for anyone. Um, Not to rip on Mike, but I do not think he has the biggest social following either. So he's doing that just by being persistent. So, if you have people that are willing to share, you're going to see results. If we go back up into acquisition, this is going to show us our sales funnel. So this is going to show us the total number of posts we're sending out all the way down into the conversion numbers. So give me 1 second here. Okay, let's see if one of our other tabs works. Okay, so we'll come back to acquisition in just a second. What we're seeing now is what's called our engagement metrics. So we are going to be able to see things like link clicks, likes, comments, shares, total user follows. If we do want to populate this graph to the right, all we have to do is click on these numbers, and then we're going to be able to see this information. And you know what? I know what the unexpected error was, is I selected Mike Marriage and did not unselect him. So you do have to be careful with those filters. Should get a better update now. Okay, so here we are in engagement. We are showing you the percent changes in the posts that we're sending, the total number of impressions, total number of engagements, and our engagement rates. And these percent changes that you're seeing are comparing us to the previous time period. So this would be the previous year compared to what we're doing now. Again, as we click these, they are going to populate this graph to the right if we do want to dive into that data a little bit more. As we scroll down, we are going to be able to see our engagement by network. So LinkedIn's obviously the biggest one for us. So we want to make sure that our presence is still pretty heavy when we're dealing with LinkedIn information. We're going to be able to show you where our engagement is coming from by channel. So is it advocacy, content curation, or organic content that's driving the most engagement for us? We're a pretty even split on organic and advocacy. We're also going to show you the engagement by time of day. So what this does is it pulls data based off of your follower base. So this will show us based on our past posts when our followers are the most likely to engage. So the way this works is the bigger the circle, the more times we've posted, the darker green it is, the more likely we are to see engagements. So if we do hover over one of these bubbles, you're going to be able to see how many times we've sent the post out, total number of engagements, total clicks, likes, shares, and comments. So if we start aiming for this green area when we're scheduling posts, you are going to see a lot more engagement than if we were just sending them whenever we made them, or if we were scheduling blindly without looking at something like this. If we scroll down, you are going to be able to see your top engaging posts as well as top engaging campaigns. If we jump back into acquisition, now that I have turned the Mike Marriage filter off, we are going to be able to see our total number of posts, total number of impressions, all the way down to clicks and conversions. Now again, demo environment, so please don't judge us by the 36 conversions. I promise with over 3,000 posts, this number is much higher in our live environment. But those most recent conversions, you're going to be able to see the name of the person who converted, the campaign tag they converted from, as well as their geolocation. We can show you where your conversions are coming from by network, also by channel, which again is comparing the organic content to advocacy and curation. And then we're also going to show you which campaign tags are converting the most people. So you do have some insights here. All of these are going to be downloadable as a PDF if you do need to export the data for any reason. Again, you're going to have more filtering options here. If you did want to look into a specific network or profile, for example, you certainly have the ability to do so. If we go into audience, this is going to show us trends in our followers. So we can see all of our new followers. We can see our total followers. If we do click on new followers and we see this spike that we're seeing over here, and this was actually when we started running the advocacy competition internally. But we can see, when we're posting on multiple different social profiles and we're expanding the reach of our content, the amount of people that come back to us and raise their hand and say, hey, I want to see this sort of stuff on a regular basis increases quite a bit. So that's really what we're driving. We want to make sure that we're putting out content that's relevant to people, that's relevant to our business, that's relevant to our industry, and is interesting enough to make people come back for more. So checking these metrics is going to help us understand what's doing that. If we scroll down, we are going to be able to see where our followers are located by network. Again, LinkedIn is the big one for us. We can show you trends and your mentions on Twitter. We can show you where your clicks are coming from by country as well as by city. I can tell you which browser people are using, which operating system, and even whether or not they're using a mobile device or a desktop to click on this information as well. If we go into content, this is going to show us the different types of posts we've sent out. So how many times have we updated our status? How many times have we included an image in a post? How many times have we included a link or a video? But it's also going to show us our top converting and top engaging links, which I think is very helpful. Now, again, with this stuff, we can always click on this. It'll populate the graph to the right. But this is what I really like about this dashboard. So if we do see a lot of engagements or a lot of conversions coming from a specific link, what that tells me as a marketer is that the content on the back end of this link is really resonating with our audience. So instead of just getting rid of it, throwing it out after we use it once, I would suggest recycling it. You don't have to use the exact same post you did the first time, but write some different messaging and then use the same link and see if we don't drive a similar number of conversions. If we scroll down, we also have a content analysis piece, and what this is going to do is measure the successfulness of different words and hashtags that you're using in your post. So it works similar to the time of day chart that we looked at earlier, where if we do hover over one of these, it's going to tell us exactly how many times we've used it and the total number of engagements from clicks all the way down to comments. So if we do have one that is very, very dark, what that means is we see a lot of engagement, but the bigger the word, the more times we've actually used it in our social posts. Now, I don't mind this view, but if we didn't like it for any reason, or we did want to pop out one of these different charts that we're seeing here, we do have the ability to do so by hitting this arrow. So once I hit this arrow, this is going to show us exactly all of the exact same data, but it's going to be in a CSV style format, which is going to be all of the data that we've looked at so far once we access it under reports. So if you do want to automate exports out of here, you have the ability to do so. If we just want to look at this information in a CSV style format, you have the ability to do so. Or if we need to download it as a CSV, you can by hitting this button right here. But as you'll see, we see that same keyword questions with all of the same information that we just saw a moment ago. Now it's just, more in an Excel style. So lots of different ways to access the data. Under assignments, these are going to be metrics to measure how we're doing with the customer care inbox. Now, since we're not responding to messages from inside of our demo environment, we're not showing data here, but this is going to be the total number of opened assignments, the total number of replies and comments on assigned posts and messages, the average number of responses per assignment, as well as our average time to first response. So again, those are going to be metrics to show us how much we're doing in the customer care inbox, and also metrics to show us how fast we're actually responding. So those will be available. We did take a look at the advocacy report already. And then, under reports, you're going to have access to information like specific campaigns, campaign tags, links, profiles, app users, board users, message assets, conversions, or keywords. So there's a lot of stuff we can look at in here, but that really is the high level overview. Again, I do think that the information that's going back into Dynamics is also going to play a huge role in making sure that our marketing team is seeing all angles when it comes to a specific marketing initiative. So the ability to track that information back to a specific contact or lead inside of Dynamics is going to be super useful. But we also have a lot more reports and analytics inside this tool for you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Chad, but I do appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to me today, and stay safe out there. 2020.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt. Hopefully everybody got a great understanding of social marketing. So much information in there that you can take advantage of. So, if you really want to find out more about social marketing, about ClickDimensions, about intelligent dashboards, kind of all the things that roll into ClickDimensions. Please feel free to reach out to me. My phone number is on there. My email, you can visit us at ledgevpartners.com. And we'd love to talk more with you about ClickDimensions, about social media marketing, and about your challenges. So until next time, stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you on our next one. Bye now.